Okay, so let's talk about a social media platform that is Nigerian made, which is the biggest Nigerian made platform so far. And please don't get it confused with me saying Instagram or TikTok or whatnot. I'm not talking about those platforms, but rather, I'm going to talk about this specific platform here. Now, the platform in question is called Storipod, and according to their website, Storipod is a microblogging platform where people can post different stuff and everything. But I know that many of you that might have just heard what I just said won't understand what I'm saying, so let me try to explain Storipod from my own point of view. Okay, so think of Storipod like this. I'm pretty sure that many of us right now have WhatsApp on our phones. And like when you use WhatsApp, you have that status feature where you can view people's WhatsApp statuses or you can create your own, basically. Now, they took that concept of WhatsApp status and turned it into its own social media platform. That is essentially what Storipod is. Basically, a WhatsApp status social media platform. Do you get what I mean? Like, basically, you can post a story because that's what they're called, not WhatsApp statuses or whatnot. And then from there, when you create one, you can post it, and then anyone that's on the platform can see it. You know how WhatsApp, only people that you have their contact and everything can see that stuff. But however, with Storipod, anybody can see it. They don't need to have your contact. They don't need to follow you, because that's how it is. Like, their followers and everything like that. Nobody has to really follow you to see that thing. Like how on Instagram you can see someone's post without having to follow them in the first place. That's essentially how Storipod is. Now, in today's video, we're going to be talking about Storipod, its features, and some more things as well, like why I think it's the biggest social media platform in Nigeria and some other stuff too. So yeah, buckle up. Now, if you are using Storipod for the first time, this is how the home screen looks like, basically. So they have this For You page where you can see different posts from different people and all that type of stuff, and you can interact with them in different ways. Now, when you click on the story, for starters, as you can see, there are different icons here. Now, they have a pause and play button, and this button allows you to basically pause a story. So you know how WhatsApp automatically goes from the first story to the next story after a few seconds? Now, with Storipod, you have the option to pause so that way you can read whatever someone has posted, and then you can play it again so that it goes to the next slide automatically. I genuinely love this pause and play feature because it's different from WhatsApp, where now that somebody posts a status and they have different slides, you would basically have to hold the screen so that you could read what that person has posted and before it goes to the next slide automatically. You get what I mean? Now, since people's stories are public, you can't comment on someone's story. So you just click on the comment button. From there, you type in whatever you want and then it sends. The one thing I do like as well is the fact that you can react to people's comments and stuff with emojis and everything. But however, the one thing I don't like is the fact that the reaction button is so small and it's so difficult to press. So I wish that they could change that, honestly speaking. I wish that it could be, more like WhatsApp, how if you hold a message, you can react to it that type of way. You also have the option to share a story to anyone you want, which I think is cool. And also you have the option to basically donate to someone. So if you click on the gift box icon, you can basically donate money to someone if you like whatever they're posting. Oh, and by the way, this isn't even my first video on Storipod. I made content on them months ago, and this video is beginning to pick up and stuff, and many people are asking questions about the platform. Like, I've been getting questions about how to post on the platform and everything, and which is why I'm here to teach you guys on how to do that. Now, to post something on the home page, just click on the pen icon on the top of the screen, and from there it will take you to this page. You can start by typing whatever you want on the screen. It doesn't matter. Then after that, you have to make sure that you add a title, because without a title, they won't let you post anything. You also have to add a tag to the story as well by clicking on the T button on the bottom left of the screen. Without a tag, they won't let you add anything. And you can add up to 5 tags to your story. You can't add more than that. After you have added both the title and the tag, you have the option to play around with Storipod, where you can change the background color, or you can change the font, or you can change the way that the text look like, how they're aligned and everything. You can change all that stuff. Also, if you click on the windmill icon, you have the option to add a cover to your story, and you can upload any picture you want. Like how on YouTube you have to upload a thumbnail for your video and everything. That is essentially how this thing is. Now you also have the option to add an extra slide by clicking on the plus icon on the screen, and from there you can add anything else you want. If you want to delete that slide, you can click on the delete button, and if you want to move between slides, just click on the arrow button, like the left or right arrow on the screen. Now, once you have been able to create the type of post you want, on the top right of the screen, click on Pod It. When you click on Pod It, they will give you two options to either set a price or a free pod. Now, the set price option means that if somebody wants to view your story, they will have to pay money for that. But if you don't want anybody to pay money before they can view your post, just click on free pod, and from there, anybody can view it without having to pay a dime. Now, when it comes to paid content on Storipod, one thing I like that they do is that they have HDCP protection. So basically what this does is that if you want to try and screenshot or screen record like a paid story, it won't let you do that at all. Like if you try doing it, you'll get a black screen. And this is a good way to actually protect someone, so that way, whatever they're doing, like when it comes to paid stuff, is worth it. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Now, when it comes to the whole posting process, the critique I have with Storipod is the fact that, the process just doesn't feel like normal. It feels as if it's a little stressful, in my opinion, because, you have to add a tag, you have to add this and that. Like, somebody who's new or average won't really understand it. Like, I remember when I first used Storipod, this is something that was so confusing, and there were no tutorials anywhere when I first used it, as to how to post and everything. So yeah, that's the thing that was super annoying, which is why I wish that they copied Instagram's model when it comes to posting something, in the sense that how on Instagram, if you want to post something, you click on the plus icon, you select whatever you want to post, you can edit it, then after that you can put the captions and tags and whatnot, and post it. I wish they could do something like that, because something like that is easier to understand. Do you get what I mean? And also, I do wish that you had the option to maybe upload actual pictures on your stories, or if you could put voice notes with your stories, just like how WhatsApp would let you do that. But anyway, let's talk about the platform. Now, after you post a story and everything, if you just click on the story and stuff, you can see all your views, you can see your likes, you can see your comments and everything, which I think is really nifty. Now, after this whole homepage thing, they have the pods page, which is their explore page. How Instagram has an explore page, that is essentially how this pods page is, where you can see all sorts of content from everywhere. And I think it's really nice. But the thing that confuses me is that if they have a For You page that shows all types of content, then what's the point of now having this page as well? Also, one thing I do like about Storipod is the fact that, one way they make money is through ads, where they have ad placements for businesses and stuff. Now, wouldn't it make sense if the user was opening the app, it would go to that pods page instead of, the home page? Simply because, it helps the businesses for people to see them easily and immediately, because not everyone would just want to go to that other page. You get what I'm trying to say? But nevertheless, it's their platform, and they've been doing well and stuff. So yeah, I can't really judge or say that much, but still, that's just my opinion. Storipod also has the originals page, where now that they get people to write different types of stories where you can read them and everything. I remember when I first saw this page, I thought it was episode or something like that, or Wattpad. I felt like this is kind of a mini version of Wattpad, if you've used it before. And that's the way I see this type of thing. Not exactly Wattpad per se, but Wattpad but WhatsApp combined. I don't know, but just think about it that way. And finally, this is your personal page, where basically, anything you post, you can see it. So basically, for Storipod, your stories do not expire after 24 hours. They stay for life. How WhatsApp and Instagram and TikTok, after 24 hours, they're gone. Storipod isn't like that. Anything you post will stay there on your page and everything. Anybody can see it, whether or not they're following you. Besides that, Storipod does have some other features. For example, you have the option to create a group chat. I think that's called the Pod 1 feature, where now that you can add different users on Storipod together in your group chat and stuff, which I think is really cool. And secondly, one thing I do like is the fact that they have the DMs feature, where now that you can DM any page you want, which I think is very, very nice and nifty. Finally, Storipod allows you to change between light mode and dark mode. So whichever one is your preference, then yeah, you're good. Oh yeah, and as I said earlier, Storipod, they have ad placements and stuff. So they have this program essentially that allows, businesses and brands to advertise on their platform and everything. And I think that, advertising with them is not a bad idea because currently they have about 100,000 plus downloads. Now I remember on my last video about Storipod, people were asking me how to withdraw and everything like that. And honestly speaking, I wanted to teach you guys how to withdraw and everything. I had all the footage as to what you're supposed to do and everything. But however, I can't teach you guys anymore. And the reason why I can't teach you is because of the fact that from October 14th, Storipod made this update where now that they have removed like Naira withdrawals, because before you could either withdraw Naira or crypto, but Naira has been removed completely from the platform, and the platform is now a crypto or dollar based platform. Now, as I said earlier, Storipod did give you the ability for you to donate money to someone that they make content and stuff from their stories and all that. Now, because of the update and everything that they've done, you can't really even like donate anymore, basically. So there was this story that I saw and I wanted to pay for the story. But however, because of the fact that they did this dollar thing, I can't pay for the story. Now, Storipod had this feature where that you could deposit Naira, and from there you could easily pay for any story you want. But because of the fact that this whole thing was removed, it practically makes it impossible for me to pay for this story. Another thing I don't like about the whole wallet system of Storipod is this. So let's assume that today that somebody donates 1,000 Naira to you for your stories and whatnot. Let's now assume that, okay, you want to basically use like this money that someone had donated to you to donate to another person. You can't at all. Because I could have used some of my earnings to basically pay for that story. But the thing is, I can't do that because this platform does not give you the option to do so. But yeah, that is all for today's video. If you are a Storipod user, tell us your experience with Storipod in the comment section below. And goodbye.